For now, we are going to be recording just so that this can be available for later, as you just saw. Thank you again for being here. My name is Carrie Hartman. I'm coming to you today from Portland, Oregon. I am your current, we're serving on the national leadership team. I'm your current 2022 First Vice President, and I am so excited to be here with your 2022 Treasurer, Miss Tammy Noel Adams. Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from before we get started? We're going to hop right in.
Hey guys, Tammy Noel from Georgia, better known as the Peachtree State. Our average price income here is $365, and guess what? Rents are up for 3-bedroom for $2,300. So I'd love to have you come to Georgia. Give me a call. Love to take care of you. So let's go ahead and get this started. This webinar was delivered a couple of years ago, and we are presenting it again to reinforce a one-of-a-kind Leadership Identification and Development Committee. We're making this easy for your training. Please remember that this webinar is going to be recorded. So if you have any questions, please make sure you put those questions in our Q&A. But better yet, because it's being recorded, you will be able to later on get your committee together and your committee chairs. And how about let's have a watch party? Let's talk about some of the things that we have implemented, or maybe you're going to learn some new tricks along this day to add to your Leadership Identification Committee. Because let's remember, this is not a project team. This is a committee. This means that your committee will continue to function all year long. So remember, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, and Carrie and I will answer your questions after the presentation. Carrie, let's go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tammy. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Just wanted to start off with sharing something that one of my dear friends, Joanne Poole, has to say about Women's Council. Volunteer leaders dedicate so much of their time and talent and energy to their profession. The council helped build my confidence, leading to success in leadership roles and my career. The camaraderie, watching leaders, and mentoring all played a role. The skills you learn and develop in Women's Council will play a very important role in not only real estate or in a member's real estate career, but it has the ability to help in all areas of their lives. Our goal today here is for you to understand the idea of leadership identification and development. The concept of leadership is not something that is set in stone, because it changes based on the needs of the people being led. Therefore, the Leadership Identification and Development Committee will be constantly evolving.
And Carrie, you and I both know Joanne very well. And I would have to say she's one of our mentors and one of the women that have helped develop us along the way. So that development is a continuing process. It doesn't just stop, it will continue. So thank you for that. And thank you, Joanne Poole. So let's talk about leadership development, how it is expressed in our mission statement. We are a network of successful realtors, advancing women as business leaders in the industry and the communities we serve. It's more specifically expressed as one of our 8 points in our vision. We are recognized as the voice of women in real estate and the premier source for developing leaders in the industry and organized real estate and beyond. Let's say that one more time. The premier source for developing leaders in this industry and also in the industry and beyond. One of the 7 pillars is our core value. We have been identifying and growing industry leaders for years, and we're gaining traction in the field where other groups are perhaps not as successful. So now we're taking it to the next level. We are examining our Leadership Identification and Development Program to really look into how we can expand our capabilities within the organization and even beyond the bigger picture into our industry. This actually is a very exciting concept and an opportunity for all of us serving.
Women's Council is leadership. Would you agree? We have coined the hashtag Leaders Made Here because that's who we are and that's what we do. Leaders are made here. And because of this, we have the Leadership Identification and Development Committee so that we can continue to identify, develop, and position qualified leaders at all levels of the organization. So that's the why. Let's jump right into the rest of it. Who's responsible for this committee? The state leadership team will appoint the committee, and we will get into the composition of the committee in a minute, but let's think of the committee being largely being made up of past leaders. If you're a state without a network president, then this would be the role of the state liaison. And if you don't have a state liaison, and then you're going to be pulling in your national liaison. Please note that when appointing the committee, make sure to appoint members that you know and trust their leadership. It's also important that appointees are not the ones that are wanting help with their leadership journey. For example, a local president wanting to move up to the state president or state officer wanting to move up to the national officer may not be the best appointee because it's a little hard to develop yourself. Wouldn't you agree? So at a minimum, you'll need, the committee will need 5 members plus anyone that's currently serving on the national level, such as the executive committee, a national liaison, or the national leadership team from that home state. For example, Tammy Noel Adams serves on the national leadership team, and Georgia would have a minimum of 5 members plus Tammy. The importance of having Tammy or someone at the national level is to have the national perspective. They know what leaders we need, and they also know where national is heading. So here's your committee composition here. And again, this will be recorded, so you'll be able to go back and check out all the slides and hear us talk about it over and over and over until you know, like the back of your hand, how this process works. There are a plethora of options in regards to the criteria needed for service on the Leadership Identification and Development Committee. The point of having people that are involved in not only real estate as a business, but also in leadership avenues is to understand the larger picture of leadership skills needed. Members of this committee need to be engaged in the industry as a whole, as well as having a clear understanding where Women's Council is headed. More or less, the committee is the boots on the ground for your state or your region. The 3 general members should satisfy one or more of the state criteria, such as having attended a state or national industry conference. That would be helpful, right? As well as serving in leadership or management roles at their organization. These are all critical for not only identifying, but developing that leader that we're trying to raise up and bring into the fold. Don't forget the Leadership Identification and Development Committee members are appointed by the state leadership team based on the criteria provided. The number of committee members can be scaled up based on size of state. You might consider instituting some term limits for the committee so there's some new representation. And again, remember, it's also important that the appointees are not the ones wanting help with their leadership journey because we want to develop those leaders.
So that was the why and the who. Now let's get into the what. I love the what because that talks about exactly what your committee needs to do. We're going to talk about the importance. We talked about the importance of leadership development, a bit of the history of developing leaders and what the outcome has been so far. Carrie just laid out a more detailed and actual structure of the committee in your state. Now, what is the role of this committee? It's not important if you've been in this role before or how long you've been with the council, or if you have participated in this program 3 years ago. What we're going to do is tackle the identification piece as far as identifying and submitting individuals to on the national level to be developed and utilized there. We have not formally done anything yet to identify and develop people for roles on the state level. Essentially, we've previously focused on developing leaders that have already stepped into the leadership role. Now, we are looking to take it a step further and develop our members into the leadership roles. This part is new, and we're focusing on growing the leadership program. And really, where the state networks can grow, their role is going to be a very important part to play. So let's break down this committee and look at that in 3 different components, okay? This isn't just to you a two-way communication. And you'll probably notice that you are in the center of this communication chain. This is a big part of why the structure of the region and the job descriptions of the national and state liaisons. Communication will be critical, and the needs for our national and state leadership identification from our local networks leaders to the state LID. Either the local networks in your states need to identify and develop their leaders and leadership pipeline. So this is a way that you can help them have a pipeline, or identify individuals in the network who can assist the state in the future to fulfill pipelines. Also, your committee needs to feel comfortable communicating back to us at nationals. Tell us at nationals what we can do for you and what further tools we need in your role and to help your committee. Please be that point of contact, because you're going to be sending and receiving applications back to nationals for the identification of volunteers and national opportunities. Very important to have this communication, not just you talking, but your state and your local leaders speaking to each other. Okay? Let's think of this as you guys are talent scouts. Identification. These are two essential tracks of leadership pipelines that you need to fill. One, state positions. These people you may already have identified, yet to be further developed in some capacity to fill your state leadership pipeline. Identify people for national opportunities. This involves identifying, recruiting members in your state to submit their volunteer interest to the committee. Your state committee in turn is going to make recommendations to national based on your committee's review of these submissions. Carrie and I will be reviewing the actual submissions process coming up. So let's talk about that real quick one more time. This is your whole committee coming together and making a decision on who to put forward, not just the LID chair. You have a whole committee that is beginning in this process from the beginning to the end of the year. It just doesn't stop after you submit applications, because the touch and the tap, it continues, okay? This is the committee's main role for continued success of the council at all levels. Development. This is developing those that have been identified as up-and-coming leaders on the local and state levels. Those names that have been submitted by your state committee to national should be encouraged to continue to attend and engage in the mid-year and national conferences. If they have a skill set needed, your committee at this point to put them in the right direction. For example, public speaking. If you have members who need help or have expressed interest in public speaking, your committee can put together a class on public speaking or present at your next state meeting. Now, here's some things to consider. How do you provide feedback to your volunteers on their performance? Perhaps the committee they served on in the past. Do you give recommendations as to the next step? How do you encourage your members to get out of their comfort zone to enhance their skill sets? Do your members even know the opportunities available for them to get involved and what benefits it is to them? Effective is the key word here, guys. The strength of your team, the strength of your committee. We all know sometimes it's easier to do a task on our own rather than to delegate to the team. But it's important and part of a leadership development for both the team and the person delegating the task to let it go. It's not just you, it's about your whole team, right? So now let's back up and review the opportunities available. After all, you just don't start at president-elect. Well, usually, hopefully anyway, that's the goal, right? Hopefully you have been to a meeting or two, or joined the local network, or been to an event. Hopefully somebody has asked you to get involved just a little bit. This is your committee's job at the state level. You might want to invite someone to participate. Remember, the more you give, the more you get. As we know, there are many smaller roles that are actually essential to the group running well. Staying organized, maximizing the output, and keeping everyone sane. Here are some few examples at the local level. So what opportunities are available at the state level outside of an elected leadership? Much as the same on the local level. However, this does allow the opportunities to network with peers across the state, which are all known to increase your personal visibility and referral potential, as well as grooming future leader opportunities. And this is why we're here today. Again, these activities will grow your leadership skills and professionalism, which also directly translates into your business. And this additional selling point for you and the committee as you're doing your talent scouting. Give them reasons and opportunities as to why getting involved, how it can improve their business. Now let's talk about beyond the state. Have you traveled to conventions? What have you seen other people doing as volunteers? Some of these have been sent out as call to actions for membership for volunteers. They are still appointed positions by the national leadership, and how they get on the list to be considered is your name. A completed form has to be forwarded to the Leadership Identification Development Committee. Please keep in mind, leaders, read your roadmap for network development leadership. There are going to be volunteer opportunities that are in that roadmap. And if you don't open them, and we know who opens them, and share them with your leaders, then when they come up to you at the conference, how can I be a volunteer? Well, did you read the roadmap? Because they requested some volunteers. So it's very important, leaders, that we pass on this information, okay? Because some of the things that they can do, they can be meeting ambassadors. They can develop and deliver an inspiration. Additional roles is that they can be appointed to the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm the chair of that committee this year. How about chairs and committee liaisons to NAR?
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
So leadership identification to promote leaders within the organization is still one of the biggest responsibilities of the Leadership Identification and Development Committee. We've had a version of this process for many, many years, but let's go over the process as it is in place today. And I know that somewhere along the line that chat is blowing up and I haven't looked at it, but we are going to drop a link to where you can find all of this information because it has been updated and it is on the website as of, I don't know when, but sometime in the last day or two. So let's get started. So step one. Oh, sorry, let me go back. Step one, the process opens and members are welcome to submit. The time frame is from March 1st through May 31st. Members are given 3 months to apply through the process. State and local networks should be promoting the volunteer opportunity, and a flagship program that seeks to promote members at all levels in the organization. Networks with a high number of submissions typically promote this information on their own communication channels, such as newsletters, email blasts, social media, etc. I was actually in Ohio yesterday speaking to our members in Ohio, and many of them asked, how can they get involved? And it was like a perfect plant. I said, well, come to the Leadership Identification and Development webinar tomorrow because you'll get a lot of information. And I have already seen the Ohio Leadership Identification and Development chair on the call today. So thank you for being here because this is where you get to know where these opportunities are. So applications will be self-submitted using an online jot form. Let's pretend that Tammy Knoll is filling out the form for herself. She would fill in all of her information and her skills, such as being an amazing bookkeeper, and she loves numbers. Tammy could print this up for her own copy and then click submit. The chair on the state level will receive these applications as well as national will also get a copy. The state committee needs to review and decide which, if any, names to submit to national. All completed applications will be emailed to the state committee chair. Again, national will get this a copy. You can print this for your own records and then click submit. The chair on the state level will receive these applications and recommendations. The state committee needs to review and decide which, if any, to send to national. So here's the form. Sorry, I was a little bit farther behind. These slides are sticking on me today. Submission, the step 2 is where submissions are distributed to state presidents and recommendations are submitted. The time frame is from June 1st. I think this is correct. Is this correct, to June 30th? They may have updated that. And again, we will post that updated version in the chat if it's not already there. I just can't see it. So please note that submissions will be compiled and sent to the state president. It is up to the state president to distribute these submissions to the committee. National no longer distributes directly to these LID chairs. So make sure the state presidents are submitting, or state liaisons. If you have no state president, they're submitting these to your LID committee. At this point, the online form is also distributed. National relies on the online form and comments that states have made on this process to ensure that states have an impact on the process. Now it's time to pull your LID committee together and review all the applications. Of course, these days, we know this can be done via Zoom, but if you want to get together, that's okay too. But we're all busy, so Zoom is a really great tool for this. Your online link will have multiple pages for recommendations. You must submit all recommendations at the same time. If you choose not to submit the maximum number allowed for your state, you will simply scroll to the end of the form, sign it, and click submit. The chair also has the option to print the recommendation form to retain for the state's records. So, as an example, if I was recommending Tammy Knoll to national, I would fill out this form with my contact information, Tammy's name, an actual recommendation for her to serve, such as Tammy was the best treasurer for our state we ever had. Then she took a mess and, well, here's the comments. She took a mess and really cleaned it up, or whatever you want to say, right? Then I click finance and budget, submit, sign it, and submit it. I also have the option to print the form to retain for our records. This report must be received by national no later than June 30th. Note, there is technically a step 2.5, and that is notifying the applicants what the committee has done with their application. Did you forward their name to national, or possibly are you forwarding their name to the state nominating committee? So each state, regardless of size, this is a new process. Each state, regardless of size, can submit up to 10 recommendations should they choose. And we encourage you to do that. We are always looking for people to fill positions, and we want to use as many people as we possibly can. So please, 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 each state, you have up to 10, please use that. New opportunities include diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. As Tammy mentioned, some mastermind chairs and co-chairs, session greeters, social media influencers, and the opportunities are coded into 3 areas: micro-volunteering, major year-long commitments, and something that requires physical travel to national meetings. You do not need to resubmit a recommendation for anyone who is or was on National Executive Committee or has been in Leadership Institute class. These individuals can submit an updated resume if they would like, and they will not be counted towards your state submissions. So again, if you have someone in your state that sits on National Executive Committee, or they're in Leadership Institute or have gone through Leadership Institute, they will not count towards your state's 10 submissions. The time frame for this report must be received by national is between June, but let's see the time. Sorry, I'm gonna again refer back to that document that is put in the chat somewhere about the timeframes, because literally these things were updated in the last couple of days and my script may not reflect it. So I want you all to make sure that you find that document so you have those proper dates. So step 3, the national leadership team, Tammy and I and Chris and Sylvia and whoever comes after us, we will review and make appointments, and the time frame is between August 1st to September 30th. That being said, we are constantly looking at our LID applications for all sorts of positions throughout the year, because as you know, we're always innovating and always looking for people to serve in some capacity. So this is like an ongoing resume. Just keep that in mind as you're out there talking about this process. Again, previously all LID appointments were announced at once. New process is very different. We always have opportunities throughout the year, and we will not have a specific date when we will announce who's got what, because we're constantly looking at these throughout the year. Zoom has provided us the opportunity to be able to get together a lot more, and so we are able to look at those and fill in spots as needed.
Thank you, Carrie. And really, she gave some great information. 10. Everyone can submit 10. It used to be a number per your state, now 10. So we want everybody in the sound of our voice to submit 10, please, okay? Very important. Carrie and I pulled together some tools from our website that we think we could use. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, because the WCR website is full of great information. So let's look at this a little bit deeper. Okay, so what you'll find on the national website, several tools. My favorite go-to tool is the new member onboarding tool, okay? We actually workshop this a bit with local network now presidents, and in the exercise, we emphasized that this is not a homework assignment for the person you're interviewing. This form is for you, and in this case, your entire leadership identification committee, to use as an outline while you're talking to members in the state, and specifically through local network leaders. As you know, it's always important to have your finger on the pulse of the membership. And in this case, it's an eye towards their individual leadership journey. So this conversation is with people that perhaps you've identified in your local networks that you're looking to move up to the state level, or perhaps the local network has come to you with people that raised their hand and showed some interest in moving up in the organization from the local level. You can walk with your local leaders through this process for their benefit. And if you do, know that this year your local presidents have actually heard and should be familiar with this. If your local networks are really on the ball, you may even have this template filled out for some of their members already who have joined. And speaking with local network leaders, have them send these to you for a little background information on the people you're grooming. And then talking to your member in a casual conversation, ask them if their goals are the same from when they joined Women's Council, or have they changed? These ladies obviously are going to renew. They are finding what they needed from the council and to get what they want regarding their business goals. Is there any way that their local network can help them or further their goals in their business or their leadership, or perhaps in the state? And importantly, is the reason that they renewed the same as they joined? Because their answer may have changed because of their experience with inside the council. Have your local networks do a member engagement interview in a close communication with your networks about this. Again, this is a one-on-one phone call or a face-to-face conversation. This is not a homework assignment for the person you are looking to move up into leadership. This is a screenshot of a feedback form for a speaker. This is also a great tool to evaluate incoming local presidents to really get them ready for their network. This is also a super effective at the state level. I know this is already being done in Texas, so some of you are familiar with it. But for the rest of you, I would encourage you to make a suggestion on implementing this in your state, both at the state level and the local levels. Give your incoming leaders the opportunity to improve their speaking and presentation skills. Have them give a speech in front of your committee, and your committee's job is to evaluate and get them some feedback. You can even assign a topic if you choose. If done at a state meeting, you might decide to open this up to members that express interest in participating. This would be valuable to the state. It also allows the committee to find potential state leaders or even speakers and trainers. Say one of your members have expressed interest in becoming a speaker or even teaching a CE class. This is not an experience that is easy for them to find, or a venue elsewhere that is safe and trusting environment where people are actually genuinely looking to help them grow. This might be a huge value to your members. We are working to improve the leadership identification development process, and it is evolving. We've given you some ideals and resources to assist your committee, but we will also want to hear from you as we can use more assistance. If you have an ideal that you want to share with us, even if it's 2 months from now, we want to know about it. In the past, we've really focused on the identifying piece of this, and we're really digging into the development side of the leader, training on the state and the local level. This at this point is a game changer for us. You know, we focused on the state level and national, but now we're taking it down to the local level as well.
Well, thank you, Tammy. That was a lot of information. I'm sure hopefully you guys have all seen that. I did see the link in the chat. So if you haven't seen it yet, please make sure you check that out. And if I know we're going to get to questions at the end here, but might consider saving the chat too, because I know some of the questions have been answered. So as a committee, again, you are the talent scouts. You know that by becoming involved at the local or state levels, members will discover the dividends. They'll discover what it's like, that what the service provides, that the council, the service the council can provide, the networking, the professional development, and the leadership development, which all translates into being an amazing version of yourself as a realtor. Those that have the time, the passion, and the desire should consider getting involved at the state and national levels. We just need to know who they are and what their talents are, so that we can fill this wide range of opportunities that come up on almost very much so every time we meet. We're always kind of looking towards just new things and innovating and developing those leaders that sometimes we don't know at the national level. So we're really counting on you. Our leadership identification and development program is designed to identify talents at the grassroots level and match their talents with the opportunities that we have at the state and national levels. There are timelines for appointments for certain posts, so encourage those that are thinking about next year. They should do it right away. And with that, we definitely want to thank you for your time today. Again, we're going to go over a few questions. I know we went through things very quickly, a lot of information. This will be recorded and it will be hosted on our streaming channel. So look for that probably next week sometime. But a couple things to wrap up with today, some things to remember. Make sure you appoint your committee. Make sure that committee has a clear understanding of their role. Share this webinar with your committee, or have a watch party, as Tammy mentioned, and you know, glass of wine and some of your, you know, charcuterie board. It'll be great. It'll be fun. Get your juices flowing there. Give us some feedback on the tools that you need to help you. We want to know how to make this process better, smoother, more efficient. We're just like you, volunteers figuring it out. And with all of our brain power together, all of our think tanks together, we can make this the best version. And then remember the new process on submitting names to national. So with that being said, I can't really see the chat. So I'm gonna, maybe Jamie, if you could help us with some of the questions that have been coming in so that we can make sure to get them answered. Would that be something you can help with?
Sure.
Awesome.
So I only see a couple questions right now, actually.
Oh.
We've been posting the link to the website for the application and the committee process, so that's good. There's not a lot of questions. Here's a question from K Merg. Should members interested in speaking at a national level complete the speaker form and national LID form?
Good question. I think at this point we have this call for presentations form that has been developed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, you probably know it's a separate form from the LID.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So if they're specifically interested in speaking, I would direct them to the call for presentations. And Jamie, I don't know if you have that dropped in the chat.
I'll look for it right now.
Find it. Okay, great. So yeah, I mean, if that's the only thing they're interested in, then that's where I would send them to. If they've got other interests, like, you know, serving as an ambassador or serving as a social media influencer or something like that, then definitely have them go through the LID process. Other questions? Anything I saw? I know you had mentioned, I saw something that came in from Renee Roque, but you would addressed it, but it's a good question to talk about because this is being recorded. So I think her question was, as a Leadership Institute graduate, does she need to go through the LID process? And your comment back was she just needs to update her resume, her current application for next year. And again, that is not something that will count towards the 10 that you have for submissions in your state. Awesome.
Yep, that's correct.
Excellent. See, we know what we're talking about. Thank you, Jamie. We love you. You help us be so prepared. We are so grateful for you. Any other questions? Because again, if I start looking at my chat, then you're going to see the chat and not my screen.
So Jeff and I are trying to locate that interview template. We know where it is. I'm having trouble getting the link, so Jeff's working on that. But
Okay.
if we can't post it in the chat, we'll see if we can get that posted with the LID information so that it can be utilized. Some people were kind of interested in that document.
And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's with the new member onboarding toolkit that we just recently developed.
Yes, correct.
So I know that because I've seen that template a few times this year. So it's a great template. You know, some of these things that we're using are actually things that we've had in our library for quite some time. We just haven't brought them out. And so we're repurposing them a little bit. And I think that form is one of them.
Absolutely.
So Carrie, Jeff just posted in the chat the link for the speakers. So he took care of that. And I'm sure he's working on the other document we're asking.
Okay. Tammy, do you have anything to add?
No, just that I would love to see all of you submit in 10 names. And remember, focus on your local leaders as well in development. And remember, this is not a project team, it's an all year round committee. And we're very excited to see what comes from this year, from what all you all have learned today.
Excellent. Well, again, if you do have questions, please make sure you're looking in the chat, saving the chat. The website is actually quite amazing. We've been doing a lot of cleanup. Jamie and Jillian have been working on some serious documents. So use that search tool because it is quite something. Like, you literally go into the website and you don't have to know where it is. You just search like some keywords and it'll pop right up for you. But we are always here to answer questions. If you have specific questions, I think the biggest thing is we want you, I see these faces on here. You guys have been around for many years, and you know the leaders in your state, and we want you to encourage them to get involved. And so, because we want to know the leaders in your state, and we're not there every day the way you are. So please make sure that you do tout this at every level that you can, and let us know who these people are that are doing amazing things. They can help take the council to the next level.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for your time. I know it was quick and fast and furious, and keep an eye out for this to be popped onto our streaming channel within, again, probably in a week or so. Reach out if you have any questions. We appreciate you being here. I know it's early for some of us. I know some people are stuck in all sorts of crazy weather, so take care, be well, and we will see you some of you tomorrow on leadership identification, or excuse me, Leadership Institute possibly, and some of you in a few weeks in May.
Yay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.